Now we see a demo application on how we develop a API application using Spring Boot, and what are the practices that we need to follow when we are constructing the URI, that we try to understand now. So here how we can create the application. Well, let's take Spring Inch. So I'm creating the application from start.spring.io, that is nothing but Spring initializer. So here group com.mm. MindMajix. Let's create an application in like a full management system or anything we can create. Let us take it as like SMS school management service or student management service. Let's keep it specific to students information, as it is a microservices application. Let's take it. We can't go for like a school management system. When we are developing this microservices, it should be specific to one's particular domain object or particular feature their system. So different microservices when we deploy on the cloud and are on the whole, then through the enter. But when we application should here what we can service, we can write like STMS instead of school management service. What are the principles that we need to consider when we are developing any and developing microservices? It should not be the project. It should be small products based visual domain entities, visual features. So here I want to deal with one single domain entity students. So I want to create a student management service or student service. We can say student service. We can say like a school management system. Under that system we can say student service. So here also you can say MindMajix school management system student service. Student service, like this you can give the name. Now here package name, like a root package name we can give as com.ms, and here uh, so we can give like now here as it is student service, you can say SS, and the packaging should be jar, and the version should be 8. And now the dependencies what to add here, we need to add as of now I want to develop RESTful web services. So dependencies starter web, that is. So when I say generate, it is, so once it is downloaded the zip file of my workspace folder, and so online training MindMajix October student management service, extract it. So we have extracted the application, right? Now what I would like to do is this, I want to get my Eclipse work. So import existing Maven project. So get them from this one. Student MMS, and it is having it is nothing but a main class, and the main class having what main class will be annotated at a Spring Boot application, and it will be having main method with generally single line single line of code. What is that? Spring application dot run, static method call of run, run method from Spring application, and this run method takes two parameters. What are that? The same class which we want to run as the Spring Boot application, and then args of this main method. Now, in this, what we require now, let's create a simple endpoint for test purpose. Later we proceed further. So where should we create all the endpoints? In controller class. So we can write the controller like student or students controller. Here which service we are developing? Student service, right? So we can say students controller, and this student should be presented in which package? Controller package. We need to move it into controller package, place it into controller package. So now, how can a class becomes a REST controller? We can use individual annotations like at the rate controller, at the rate mapping. So instead of using two annotations like at the rate controller, at the rate response body, both together we have with controller. From Spring 1.4 onwards, we got this at the rate REST controller. So the same thing we can use with the Spring Boot also. So we can use directly instead of writing two annotations at the rate controller and at the rate request body, response body. Those two directly you can write at the rate next at mapping, request mapping at a class level, API level. We have to give how the mapping API level URI we have to give the API level part of the URI you here. So usually we have the APIs like API version number v1 slash and what is this feature? Students, right? Like this we can write. So are you getting the point, guys? URI at a class level, this depends based on your convention in your organized architect is suggesting to write the URS. Based on that we will be giving this part, but this students we can write based on the creating, we give the name based on that, picking up the URIs for our endpoints or APIs. Now here we are writing students API. Within this we need to have one SAMPI, let us say public list of students I want to display. So students means what I can say, student names I want to display. So list of string I can take and then get all students list. Basically I want to return all the student names, all student names. What I need to return? Students list. I can return. So here the list I need to import from java.util, and student I need to create it in the like this private list student list. So simply okay, we'll see what it will return and later we'll proceed further. But if I write like this, plain Java method would as a REST endpoint. So to enable it to be serving as a REST endpoint, we need to write a mapping here at method level also, and here we need to specify the path. What is the path we need to specify? Like list, specify the method. What is the supported? It is right. Whenever it is, give it as get specify the request method as get method. Okay, let us run this and observe how does it work. And here how here observe these 2 points. You need to observe how we are constructing the URI at the API level, means at the class level, a controller class level, and how we are constructing the URI at the method level, means endpoint level, how we are constructing the path. So that we need to see here. Now let us make a sample run of this application and we check. And what else we can write here in the properties file? We can make the customization of port number. How to customize the port number? Server dot port to 80, and next server dot servlet context hyphen path equals to, we can say, context path student service or student management service, STMS. So student management service. We can give this customization for port number and context path. We can give like this. Now let us start the application, run the main class. So application has, now let us request this application. Localhost HMS is the context for API level. URI is API slash, means a student slash, that is API level we have given, means a class level, controller class level, API with students, and then what we have given, list. So this URI we need to give, and making a request from browser, then by default the request method is get method. So what is the method here? We are specifying method as get method. So this method, this Java method is able to get method request and process. So when we are submitting this request from browser, it will be get method, and that can be received by our Java method and process it. So saying why it is saying of not found students API v1 students, right? We have, and request mapping slash list only we have given. Okay, HTMS. So what is context path? Server servlet context path we should give. So I have server.servlet.context hyphen path. Now if I run the application, student service application as Java application, if we observe, it has been started on localhost is context path STMS. So now take this, run the application, playing anything, because we don't have list of students. That's why it is giving you blank screen. So now if I wanted to display something here, what we should do? We need to initialize this list of students, right? It is simply array list, reference variable. So what we need to do before displaying it here? Let's create an array list of string. Already we have declared it, right? And directly we can initialize here students list equals to array list Ravi, Kiran, Ramya, Kavya. So now I have initialized the list with some values. So rs.asList method we have in rs class as list will return takes multiple string parameters, string arguments, and that it will return as a list. Right now, let me restart the application and run the application. So list. That's why it was returning me a blank empty. Now get all the students list in this we can create. But here, how we are writing the URIs to understand. One of the important aspect that we need to have good understanding in the context of and API developers microservices first is this one. The basic one, how we are designing our APIs. So this API and V1 that depends on the organization, but even in interviews you can mention like this API and this is the version and this is the controller means domain entity at class level, and at method level you can specify the nouns like this. So here what I am doing, I am commenting this property. So I have just port number, but not in this context path. Server dot in this case happens. Application start on localhost port number 80. If I the context path, it is empty. Whenever it is empty, the context path, then how I should request? I cannot write STMS student management service like I can directly write like V1 students a list. If I say enter, okay, it will come. It works fine. But what is happening here? If we observe here, localhost colon one and then V1 students list. But if I want to specify this API endpoint is from my particular microservice. Microservice level path also we need to specify, right? Even we, here actually up to this localhost 8081, you can consider it as the domain.xyz.com, but our application.com application several microservices, right? So which microservice we are using, that microservice level path we need to specify. Here we may be having student management service or a teachers microservice, courses microservice, right? So from which microservice we are requesting this URI, that should be specified, right? That should be make it understandable for the clients. So that's why we need to give this also like a, microservice level URI part. Otherwise, what happens? Students might be we are using here, and even in another microservice also we may require to have the students information. URI related to student. Then how to differentiate that it is from student microservice or courses microservice? In the courses also we need to know who are all the students enrolled for courses, right? All courses. Then how do you need to give the URI? Students list only you need to specify the URI, right? Then how to differentiate whether it is from courses or whether it is from students? That's why we have given this context path. We need to give this context path. If we give this context path at a microservice level, we can differentiate the URLs. This is only operation. So, right, means always we need to specify get method. Next, now I want to add a new student to the existing list of students exists. That means to perform a create operation create operation by add it, we can write a method, Java method like this: public, whichever student I have added that I wanted to return back. So string add student, or let us make it as create student. And this create student should take a parameter student, right? Student. Now this student we need to add to whom? This students list, right? Students list dot add student, and then we need to return the student whichever has been added, the same thing I want to return. So like this I can write the now this Java method. It is plain Java method. Now we need to make it as capable of serving the client request. So how can we do that? By mapping with @request mapping. That will be the path that has been given here, that should be given here. Path equals to slash, what we need to specify here. What is the appropriate path that we can give for this endpoint? Just guess, guys. Can you tell? Just to give your guess. What is the path we can give here? So like this, add student, and method. What we need to give? We need to give request. Very good. Request method dot post. Whenever it is a create operation, always we need to give the request method post, and like add student. Why we want to create a student or add student, like this we can. Let us run the application now. Just but add students, if I give like this, add student. Now what happens? It is giving 05. Why? Unexpected. The type is method not allowed. So whenever we are doing a request, getting a request from the URL, get method only, get method request only, but it cannot be a post method request. So if you want, then means other than get request, if you submit any other, you should go for API testing tools like an or SOAP UI kind, Postman or SOAP UI. You need to choose. So post from extension install also local machine, and you can extensions, so we can use this. Download or else run it. What I can request HTTP colon just address bar host 8081, means let us copy paste that URL instead of typing ms/API v1 students list. If I say student list, it all the students names here. Now what I want to create a new student. So I want to create a new method that I should use. I need to use post URI is students add student, right? Add student. If I say like this, now what happens? It's a 500 error. Why? Right? That should be, we are saying add to list. We are not specifying. We give the input from the body. We can we can as a student or simply like Kishore, student Kishore. This student, whatever input we are giving here, this should be read into our code, right? So how to get this into our method? So simply our parameter, which cannot be emitted here, should do. We need to at the rate request body at the rate request. Need to read, otherwise it cannot read it. Submit it. 500 server error when I am running it. Why I am getting this? So null point student and exception. Why? So what is the problem? On students list, when it is trying to add student to this students list, it is null pointer. It is, that's why it is okay. Let me, and then you tell. Now put a break here. It has been started. Now let me, so come here, right? Value we have given the student, right? What is the student list? That's why it is giving you code change that we need to do. We need to be initialized. Can we ensure that it here what we are doing when we are reading? That's why we are getting an without initializing it when we are is a blank screen, right? Hmm? So the same problem here also. So here what we need to do, we need to initialize it like this, and then we need, if I do like this every time initialize, is it a correct way? Is every time, right? A proper way to initialize the array list. No, we need to have some constructor public student controller. I can write students list equals to new array list. Like this, I need to initialize. Then whenever I am returning, now what happens? Whatever input I will give from the request, that will come and that will be added. And whatever I am adding from the create endpoint, add student endpoint, that returned as the list. So save application. How we need to initially, if I take students list, right? List. The request method of that students list should be what? Get. So if I say get, what do I get? Empty. Why? Because as of now, no student has been added. Now, if I go for post and this add student, and in the body here in the body Kishore. Like this, I can create a body. Now what happens? If you see, created student has been returned. And now if I check list of students, if what happens? It is giving list of students. But what is the problem that is facing here? The problem that we are facing here. So one more student. Let me add other student and tell me add student. Kishore, Kumar. Now if I say get a list of students, get a students list. Now what happens? See both the students and yeah, Rachna, expected behavior here. Need the student colon name Kishore the names. So string values, single string value, sending multiple values of class object or product per request is post method. Then instead of sending like this, instead of sending, we can send like parameter. We need to send like this as the part of URL itself. We need to send, and this string will in our application not like a request body. We need to read it as variable or variable. We need to use specific parameter. But student, we need to construct the URI. So what happens? Value we are the path as will be replaced by custom client, and we need to mention within this curly whatever name you are giving, then that a single string value will to this where the rate pathway. I'm it, and the risk body you can ignore. See whatever Kumar we have will be added next. Now let's get student slash list. So like this, individual value need to pass as path parameter with other rate path variable annotation into our parameter. We need to specify the variable as URL within guys. What we are methods and post methods, and when in post methods we string need to take it from the path.